Wow. Seems like some of y'all are actually interested in this video I did. So, you know what that means?
Yes!
I'm gonna make that vid. Now, Mark's life was pretty much the same as the originals, with him pretty much doing everything the original Mark did except for one thing. His personality was, well, not a mix of Mohawk Mark and the original Mark. Even though Mark was still kind of a class clown, he still pretty much passed every class he was in until he finally passed high school, and he went back home very excited to tell his parents. Nolan and Debbie were pretty happy to hear this, and eventually Mark went to college. Now Mark did pretty good in college, and his friendship with William began to deepen until one day Mark just wanted to just find him a girlfriend, and William suggested he tried to crack at Amber. Mark said that he didn't think it would work, but gave it a try, and he asked her out on a date, and she said she'll think about it. Originally, Mark and William didn't think she would actually want to go on a date with him, but later at his dorm, she showed up and they went on a date. And after the date, Mark and Amber go back to Mark's dorm. Now, how did Mark get his powers, you might ask? Well, so after Mark get his powers, he goes back and tells Debbie and Omni-Man, and pretty much the same thing happens where Omni-Man tries to train Mark until Mark comes across Titan. When Mark goes to fight Titan, he accidentally kills Titan, which shocks and scares Mark for a second, but he ends up calming himself down, saying that at least Titan won't be able to hurt anybody else again since he's dead. And Omni-Man sees this, and instead of discouraging Mark to do this, he encourages Mark to kill the villains that he fights, so Mark will most likely be not as disheartened to take over the Earth with him. And everything pretty much stays the same. Omni-Man still kills the Flexion, Omni-Man still kills the Guardians, and Adam still gets cheated on, but Mark is able to raise her up and now has two girlfriends, that be Amber and Eve. How he did it, I don't know, just know he did. And Mark still meets up with Alan like he did in the original series, so that really doesn't change, and mostly everything stays the same until he comes across his universe Angstrom, and they have a quick little fight, with Angstrom even sending Mark to the universe of Invincible that we see in the first episode of season 2 with the evil Omni-Man and evil Mark, but he's just able to escape through one of Angstrom's other portals, but they're just becoming cool and all that. So finally, Mark sees Omni-Man find a giant monster, but this time the monster is amped on all the stuff Cecil gave him. So after Omni-Man kills Immortal and Mark kills the monster, Omni-Man and Mark still have the same talk, and Omni-Man still kills all the people in Chicago to try to prove a part to Mark, until they finally arrive back at their house. Omni-Man starts to get annoyed by Mark resisting, so he just grabs him and flies towards the house with Debbie for some reason still be in it. Mark tries to tell him to stop, but it's already too late. As the dust settles, Mark looks around and sees the body of Debbie, Mark cries over her body and starts to get enraged as Omni-Man starts to yap. Invincible turns to him and says that he's gonna kill him. Mark and Omni-Man go back to fighting, but this time Mark, with the amplified rage, starts to beat down Nolan, and eventually they crash into the same one they did in the original series, but instead of Mark getting beat down the wall, Nolan is. Mark grabs Nolan's head and rips it off, and after he drops the head, Mark falls out next to Omni-Man's body and sobs. As people recover and repair after the whole fight, Mark gets in a state of depression and really has nowhere to stay, so he just stays with Amber. He also ended up changing his suit to kind of like Omni-Man, because even as much as he hated him, there was still a part of him that missed him. And even though Cecil told Mark to take a break from hero work, he still did it, and like he usually would, he just killed any villain he came across, until one day he heard a commotion in the city and flew to it. And that commotion was coming from Powerplex, who was yelling out Mark's hero name and telling him to come here. And if you're wondering what this Mark variant's name is, it's Empath. Yes, I know it's not really a good name, but that's all I can think of. As they both fight, Empath tries to reason with Powerplex since he heard what Powerplex had to go through because of him not being able to stop Nolan quick enough. And eventually he's able to reason with Powerplex, and Powerplex just goes to jail for the damage he's caused. Eventually, Mark does take a break from hero work and goes back to college with Amber, William, and Eve. But one day as college dorm, Alan the alien appears. Alan the alien and him go and get something to eat, and they just chat for a little. Alan trying to see how Mark's doing, and he just goes back and leaves. And one day, like in the original series, Mark gets lured to Thraxum, where he sees that he has a little brother, Oliver. And to explain this, the portal didn't open for Omni-Man to escape Thraxum, so he just flew off the planet and made a little detour to Thraxa. Had a kid with one of them and just went back to Earth, just in case Mark wasn't as promising as he thought he would. So that's how Oliver was born. Oliver and Mark got along really well since they both didn't mind killing villains, and they both kind of, sort of, not really had a similar personality. And eventually, Empath showed Oliver to Adam and Amber, and eventually, using the life insurance money from Debbie, he bought him and Oliver a house. Until one day, as Mark is chilling at the beach with Amber, Eve, and Oliver, a portal opens behind them in the well. If you want to continue from here, comment down below. And that's it for the backstory of my Mark variant.